Hey there, I'm Steve and I turn simple sheets of paper into some of the most mind-blowing creations you've ever seen. Today, I've got a project that's equal parts ambitious and awesome. You know the Dino Thunder megazords? Instead of cold, lifeless machines, I'm reimagining them as living, breathing creatures made of flesh and muscle. It's going to be a wild blend of the familiar and the unexpected, and I can't wait to show you how this crazy idea unfolds. Let's get started. To kick things off, I'm starting with the T-Rex's head, because what's a dino without a jaw full of teeth to show off its power? First, I shape the lower jaw, carefully crafting its structure before attaching it to a tightly wrapped paper ball that will act as the foundation. From there, I move on to the upper jaw, layering and shaping until the two parts form the imposing silhouette of a true predator. Next, it's all about the details. I twist strips of paper to build out the ridges and contours, focusing on the spots where the eyes will eventually sit. Gradually, I add more and more layers to shape the facial features, each piece adding depth and character. Once the skeletal structure feels just right, I begin the process of covering it all with a smooth layer of tape, transforming those rough edges into skin. The final touches are where the personality really comes through. A sharp glint in the pupils gives the T-Rex its piercing stare, and carefully sculpted brows add a fierce, commanding expression. With the Rex's head complete, it's time to tackle the next challenge, the Tricerazord. I start with the beak, carefully shaping it out of paper and sealing it with tape to give it a sturdy, polished look. To refine its structure, I twist up some more tape to adjust the length of the beak, then craft two smaller pieces for the lower jaw. These are fixed onto a solid paper ball, forming the foundation for the rest of the head. Next comes the defining feature, the crest. This iconic shield of bone is built up. Once I'm happy with the overall shape, everything is wrapped in tape to smooth out the surface and pull it all together. Of course, no Tricerazord would be complete without its horns. I carefully craft each one and glue them into position, ensuring they look both powerful and dangerous. To up the intimidation factor, I add extra spikes around the crest, giving it a menacing edge. With the Tricerazord finished, I turn my attention to the flying lizard. I start with the beak, carefully crafting its sharp, pointed shape from paper. Once it's ready, I glue it to a paper ball that serves as the base for the head. It looks promising, but also a little fragile. So I seal and reinforce the whole thing, layering with tape. Next comes the crest. I attach it securely, making sure it sits just right. With that done, it's time to move to the eyes. Using circular pieces of paper, I craft the sockets where those piercing orbs will sit. Now for the details that give this creature its attitude. Fierce brows arch over the eye sockets, perfect for judging its foes, while small, precise cuts create nostrils that look like they've sniffed out plenty of danger. A few wrinkles are added to give the face a rugged, weathered look. And finally, the eyes. With a satisfying push, they're set into place, instantly adding a spark of personality. Before we dive any deeper into this prehistoric adventure, let me properly introduce you to the stars of the show. First, we've got the mighty T-Rex, who goes by the name Chomper. Fitting, right? He looks like he could chomp through anything. Then there's Sarah, the Triceratops, as strong as she is stylish with her intimidating crest and horns. And last but certainly not least, the pterodactyl, Pitri, the graceful yet fierce ruler of the skies. Now that you know who's who in this dino squad, we can move forward with crafting. There's still plenty of prehistoric magic to unfold. I dive right in, starting with Chomper's neck, layering strands of muscle. The ribs follow, though honestly at this point I'm just winging it. Anatomy class was a long time ago, okay? Once the framework is in place, I move on to his thunderous thighs. These beasts of power get wrapped in tape, glued on and reinforced with extra layers of paper. Champa's legs are shaping up to carry his colossal weight. Next, I tackle the tail. Strand by strand, I add length and volume, each piece mimicking the sinewy muscle of a predator built for balance and agility. With the tail complete, I focus on the lower legs, attaching them carefully, followed by the knee joints and calves. The feet come last, crafted from shaped paper. They're sturdy enough to hold up this Dino King. His toes are added, sharp and ready to grip the earth, or maybe just the shelf he's destined for. And of course, no T-Rex is complete without those hilariously tiny arms. They're small but mighty, or at least they pretend to be. Once those are in place, I start adding finishing touches to make Champa feel less like a paper project and more realistic. Veins snake across his neck and underbelly, adding a touch of realism, while folds in the skin make him look rugged and battle-hardened. With Champa done, I set my sights on Sarah. I start with Sarah's underbelly, layering it carefully to give her that sturdy, armored look. From there, I move to her broad back. Next, I attach two circular structures to her sides, the foundation for her powerful front limbs. Her ribs come next, each one placed with care, followed by delicate strands around her neck to mimic natural folds and wrinkles. As I work, her tail and shoulders begin to take shape, reinforced with extra layers for strength. Then it's on to her legs. Much like Champa, I start by wrapping up paper in tape, creating a solid structure. Additional support is added, along with creases and folds to suggest movement and weight. Her front limbs come together next, crafted from strips of paper glued into place, followed by the lower legs and, at last, the toes. Now that Sarah stands strong and proud, it's time to focus on Petri. All right, since Petri's anatomy is pretty similar to what we've already covered, let's pause for a moment to chat. You and me. I want to say how much I appreciate you being here, watching me turn paper into something truly epic. If you're enjoying the journey and think this little corner of creativity is worth sticking around for, could you do me a favor? Give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and maybe even share it with someone who'd appreciate a good dino building session. Here's the thing, I'm on a mission to hit 1,000 subscribers before the year's end. It's a big goal, but with your support, I know we can make it happen. And if you do, I promise to keep the content coming. Frequent uploads, cool new projects, and only my absolute best work. Thank you so much for your support. It truly means everything. Now, enough chatting. Let's get back to building Petri and wrap up this prehistoric masterpiece. With Petri's body nearly complete, it's time to add the finishing touches that will cement his role as the sky's apex predator. I start with the ribs, layering them onto his frame to give his torso a bit of definition. From there, I move on to the chest, gluing them into place so his body has that solid, aerodynamic look. Next up are the legs. Same process as before. Strips of paper are wrapped in tape to create sturdy, structured limbs, then attached securely to the body. I layer on additional paper to shape the muscles, adding just enough bulk. His tail is crafted from more paper, extending behind him, and the entire structure gets a final layer of tape to smooth it out and lock everything together. With his lower legs built and his tiny, delicate feet attached, I move to his fingers. Each one is added, giving him the fine details he needs to complete his airborne prowess. And then, the wings. Ah, the wings, the crowning feature of any flying creature. I'll be honest here, I tried crafting a poetic narration for this part, but no words felt quite right. Sometimes the process itself says more than I ever could. So, let's let Petri's wings take shape without the need for extra fanfare. We're back in action. With Pitri's wings taking shape, I move on to the finer details. I craft long, spindly fingers for the ends of the wings and, what should I call them? Talons? Claws? Let's go with sky-scratching weapons of doom for his hands. His feet get their own sharp additions too. Now, with the dinos looking fierce, it's time to build something for them to stand on. A base fit for these titans. A solid platform. The final stage begins with a blocky start. I grab my trusty sheets of XPS foam and start cutting and stacking them like a prehistoric layer cake, held together with a generous helping of PVA glue. Once I've got a sturdy, towering base, it's time to prep the dinos. Each of their feet gets a custom-fitted patch of paper to secure their mighty stances on the surface. Next, I trim the excess foam, shaping it down to something that looks more like rugged terrain and less like a foam sandwich. Then comes the fun part. I grab a ball of aluminum foil and start hammering away at the surface, scraping and pressing aggressively, turning the smooth foam into a rocky, textured landscape. Once the terrain is dino-ready, I forcefully plant each creature onto the base. Satisfied with the placement, I pull them off, gently of course, to give the base its final transformation. Paint. The painting stage begins with the foundation, starting with a black base coat to give the foam a solid, shadowy depth. From there, I layer on dark brown paint, followed by progressively lighter shades of brown. Each stroke adds dimension until the base no longer looks like foam, but something sturdier, like ancient stone baked under prehistoric suns. By the time I'm done, the surface feels as grounded as the creatures who will stand on it. Now for the stars of the show, the dinosaurs. Each one gets primed in white, a blank canvas waiting for their distinctive hues. Starting with Pitri, I brush on a vibrant yellow along his back, blending in paler tones along his chest and belly for a softer transition. His beak is painted white, and then I add intricate patterns inspired by the pterosaur, finishing with brighter yellows. Next up is Sarah. Her underbelly gets a vivid blue that gradually deepens as it reaches her back. A quick dry brushing over her surface brings out every crease and fold, making her textures pop. Then I sketch her unique patterns. Finally, Chumpa steps up for his makeover. His body begins with a soft red, darkening as it climbs up to his back, adding weight and intensity to his frame. A dry brush of a deeper red enhances his details, and soon enough, his patterns emerge. A fierce tapestry that suits the king of this prehistoric crew. With their base colors done, I give them all a black wash to tone down the brightness, lending them an edge of realism. Mouths are given their appropriately fleshy tones, Chumpa's teeth gleam white, and Sarah's beak and horns follow suit. Their claws and fingers get a crisp finish too, and I brush on a brown wash to tie everything together. For the final touch, the eyes. White as a base, Chumpa gets piercing green irises, and so does Sarah. Oh, and Pitri? Yeah, funny story. I may have forgotten to hit record while painting him, but trust me, he's looking fantastic too. With the dinos fully decked out and the base waiting, it's time for the grand assembly. Placing each titan in their rightful spot, this project roars to its epic conclusion. Done and dusted, folks. We are ready for the final reveal. And there you have it. We've reached the finish line. As always, thanks for sticking around till the very end. If you had a good time watching, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe share it with someone who'd love seeing dinosaurs rise from mere paper scraps. And hey, if you're in the mood for more, go ahead and click on one of the other videos being recommended right now. That's a great way to let YouTube know I'm worth keeping around. Oh, got ideas for what I should tackle next? Drop them in the comments. I'm always on the lookout for the next wild creative challenge. Until we meet again, cheers.